Hello everyone, my name is Shobna Menon and this shall be the fourth lecture that I shall be presenting on the basics of Indian polity. Now, in my previous lecture, I had given you a brief outline on how to read a constitution. Okay, so as you may be well aware of the fact that a constitution is divided into parts, articles and schedules, and as on 26th of January 1950, a date which you must remember because that was the date when the constitution was enforced. Okay, so as on that date, the constitution was divided into 22 parts, 395 articles and 8 schedules. Okay, and flash forward to 2016 and we have 25 parts, 465 articles, 12 schedules, 5 appendices and 101 amendments. Okay, and in this lecture what I aim to do is give you a brief idea on the additions made in parts and schedules. Now, the additions made in parts and schedules you must remember. As far as articles, appendices and amendments are concerned, you're not expected to remember all of them because imagine memorizing 465 articles. No, of course not. You're not expected to do that. Nor are you expected to remember the additions that have happened in the articles, or only the major ones that we may touch upon in the later lectures. Similarly, as far as amendments go, again, you are expected to remember only the major amendments, not all 101 of them. Again, with respect to the appendices, there have been 5 appendices. Now, they are not very important from UPSC perspective because basically appendices, the 5 appendices in the constitution are dealing with, the first 2 are dealing with Jammu and Kashmir and the other are dealing with certain clauses that have not been yet implemented in the 44th, 86th and 88th amendment. So the appendices are not very important from civil service perspective. They are basically an addition dealing with Jammu and Kashmir and certain amendments that have not, certain parts of the amendments that have not been enforced. Okay, so those are the appendices. So in this lecture, let us focus on the new additions that have taken place in the parts and the schedules. Now let's look on to the parts. Now in parts, like I said, we had 22 parts as on 1950 and as of today we have 25 of them. Okay, so 22 parts became 25, so your common sense might tell you that there have been 3 new additions, and my dear friend, you are wrong. 4 new parts have been added and 1 repealed. Now repealed is a more appropriate word for the word deletion. So okay, you may for convenience sake say that 1 was deleted, but the more appropriate word to use is repealed. So 4 new parts were added and 1 repealed, and hence the tally is 25. Okay, so with reference to the part that was repealed, if you want to get into the history, part 7 was repealed. Part 7 of the constitution was repealed. Why was it repealed? Well, let's take a little history class here. Before these modern boundaries existed in India, after the passing of States Reorganization Act 1956, you can see that currently this is the present way all the states, Indian states are divided. But before 1956, India was divided into 4 parts, A, B, C and D. Part A comprised of those territories that were directly governed by the governor. Part B comprised of those territories ruled by the princes, and Part C comprised of those territories that were administered by a chief commissioner. Part D comprised of Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Okay, so there were A, B, C and D parts that were dividing India, and the parliament passed the 7th amendment. Okay, like if you're aware, there are 101 amendments, and after passing the 7th amendment and after passing the States Reorganization Act 1956, part 7 was repealed and part 7 dealt with part B of the territories. Part B comprised of those territories ruled by the princes. Okay, so part 7 comprised of the territories ruled by the princes, and the 7th amendment and the States Reorganization Act repealed part B. Okay, coming under part 7 of the constitution. So don't get confused, just remember that part 7 was repealed. That's all you have to know. Okay, now coming on to the additions. Okay, which were the new additions? How many parts were added to the constitution? Let us start with part 4A. Now please don't think that 4A means that it is a subset under part 4. No, 4A is an independent part of its own. Part 4 deals with directive principles of state policies, and 4A deals with fundamental duties. So part 4A was added. Part 9A, which deals with municipalities, was added. Part 9B, was adding the cooperative societies, and part 14A is adding the tribunals. Okay, so of course they were passed by various amendments and I will touch upon them later, but basically essentially what you have to understand is that 4 new parts were added. Part 4A, fundamental duties; part 9A, municipalities; part 9B, cooperative societies; and 14A, part 14A, which deals with the tribunals. Okay, is that clear? So those were the parts, new parts. 4 new parts were added and 1 was repealed. Part 7, okay, dealing with part B of the princely states, okay, which were again repealed by the 7th Amendment and the States Reorganization Act 1956. Okay, now let's move on to the schedules. Okay, so this is a no-brainer because there were 8 schedules and now there are 12. So all you have to remember is 9, 10, 11 and 12. Okay, so these were the 4 new schedules that were added. Let's have a brief look at each of these schedules. Schedule 9 was added by the first amendment of the Constitution. The very first amendment to the Constitution added Schedule 9. Okay, Schedule 9 deals with land reforms. Now again, before I start, each of these schedules have a long story attached to them, but I will not be getting into these now. For now, just for memory's sake, remember that Schedule 9 deals with land reforms. Okay, Schedule 10 deals with anti-defection law. Schedule 10 deals with anti-defection law. It was added by the 52nd Amendment. Anti-defection law in brief is a punishment for all members of parliament that are plotting to go on to another party. Okay, so earlier there were a lot of MPs who were shifting from one party to another very frequently, and to put an end to this, the anti-defection law was passed so that the MPs stay loyal to their parties. Okay, so that is a brief outlook of anti-defection law. Again, it's a big story. I will get into it later. So that is Schedule 10 for you. Schedule 10 is anti-defection law. Schedule 11 deals with Panchayati Raj. Schedule 11 deals with Panchayati Raj, passed by the 73rd Amendment. Okay. Not a lot of information to give out on Panchayati Raj. Basically, Panchayati Raj was given a constitutional status. And then Schedule 12 deals with municipalities. Schedule 12 deals with the municipalities. This was added by the 74th Amendment. Now, most of the students that I come across get extremely confused between schedules and parts. So, whenever we talk about municipalities, the 74th Amendment had added a schedule as well as a part. Now, municipalities is a part under Part 9A. Okay, it is a part called Part 9A under the parts of the Constitution. But when you move on to the schedules, the municipalities is the 12th schedule. Okay, so please don't get confused. Part 9B deals with cooperative societies and Part 11 deals with Panchayati Raj. So people often pair up municipalities and Panchayati Raj because they are close cousins, but Panchayati Raj has nothing to do in parts. Okay, it is an alone schedule in Schedule 11 of the Constitution. It stands alone. Whereas municipalities has a role to play in the parts as well as the schedule. It is Part 9A here in the parts and Schedule 12 in the schedules. Okay, so don't get confused. Just to recap the additions, we have as of today 2016 25 parts, 465 articles, 12 schedules, 5 appendices and 101 amendments. Now with respect to the articles and amendments, you are not expected to remember each and every one of them, only the most important ones, and we'll touch upon those in the later lectures. With respect to appendices, there have been 5 appendices, and again they are not very important from UPSC perspective. Basically they are governing any changes in the relationship between the center and the state of Jammu and Kashmir, and provisions that have not yet been enacted under the 44th, 86th and the 88th amendment. So these are the basic 5 appendices. Just think about that. Now basically mostly we were talking about the additions in the parts and the schedules. 4 new parts have been added and 1 repealed. The 4 that have been added are 4A, fundamental duties, 9A, municipalities, 9B, cooperative societies, and 14A, tribunals. Okay, and the one that was repealed was Part 7, dealing with Part B of the territories under the princely states. Okay, and then coming over to the schedules, again 10, 9, 10, 11 and 12. Four new schedules were added. Schedule 9 deals with the land reforms added by the first amendment. Schedule 10 deals with anti-defection law added by the 52nd amendment. Schedule 11 deals with Panchayati Raj added by the 73rd amendment. Schedule 12 finally deals with municipalities added by the 74th amendment. Okay, is that clear? If there are any doubts, please reach out to me on Facebook or by email, and all our contacts are mentioned on Facebook. So looking forward to interacting with you. Thank you. Till then, on the next lecture.